What's up, guys? Rob Kuhn here, and today we're going to review a hand from one of the greatest players that have stood the test of time and still playing at the highest level today, Patrik Antonius. And once again, much like last video, I do not know the action. I found it very fun last time to do this. Let's do it again. Let's see what happens.
Ace Queen suited now for Tan.
12K with the clubs. Mystery Patrik.
Just for context on this game, this is the Triton Cash Game Invitational. This is day 7. So there's a ton of hands we're going to be covering. They're playing $2,000, $5,000, $5,000 ante. No, this is not a tournament. This is a cash game. I think the minimum requirement was probably $500,000 to play. This is insane. One of the biggest cash games ever televised. Let's see what happens.
Has been
Spicy.
fire.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Another Ace Queen. Spade form, taking shape in the small blind for Andy.
You might be tempted to squeeze this one given how he's been playing, and this opener is very loose.
I hope you guys like this format.
So he is going to squeeze, and he's definitely going to get called by at least Tan Xuan. Wouldn't really expect a 4-bet from Tan Xuan with ace queen suited. You kind of want to keep the dominated aces and queens that would squeeze in this spot in. It is going to give Patrik the opportunity to come along, closing the action. Best position. He always gets to see Andy bet or check first and in Tan, so he can react accordingly well.
Very hesitant call there.
So not one, but two.
Okay, action opens up with ace queen suited under the gun 1 to 12,000. Patrik Antonius goes for the call from the cutoff with 2 cards we do not know. We will see what he has after. Most of the time you're going to see hands like suited connectors or pairs here. Most hands like, let's just say, ace X suited or ace jack off, or maybe even a wide 3-bet like ace 10 off. These hands are probably going to be 3-bet. Action gets to Andy Nee, who has a very clear 3-bet with ace queen suited. Tan Xuan goes for the call, and so does Patrik. Let's take a flop.
Patrons of the 59K 3-bet from Andy. Out of position against both. Not exactly where we wanted to find ourselves.
He is in position, actually, Patrik, that is.
Andy out of position.
Oh, sorry. What I
Jack
would say,
8-3, 1 spade on board.
1 club as well.
Poor texture, though, for us.
4 for both Tan Xuan and Andy.
Pre-flop 3-better knuckles, and you see Tan looking over.
Yeah, because Andy's the one showing weakness on this board. You're not so afraid of him, more so of Patrik hitting that jack.
Round of
On the Jack 8-3, 1 spade, 1 club, Andy, who 3-bet pre-flop, decides to go for the check with being out of position to 2 players. I definitely think you can bet here if you want. Obviously, there's a lot of favorable turns for us. If we hit an ace, we hit a queen. Even though a queen can be beat by 9-10 suited, that's fine. That's not going to be a big part of the range. A spade, a king, a 10. All of these hands are very good to barrel on, so I think I'd prefer to see a small bet. You can play the check call if you want on flop, but it gets a little bit harder to play. So I think I prefer 60,000 here, like a third. Tan also could bet with ace-queen of clubs, just as a bluff, but I think the more standard line here is to check with Patrik behind, and Patrik checks with mystery hand. We have no clue what he has, so let's take a turn.
knuckles. And now the club draw acquired for Tan in a very innocent-looking 5.
Check check with ace queen, just
Checked
giving it
over
up
to
with the
him,
ace queen
and
of
wonder
spades.
whether or not he's going to start to shovel some chips forward.
We probably
Knowing
see a bet
he's
here
never
from
drawing
Tan.
dead.
He might. He can also kind of kick out the
Very aggressive
ace
player.
king of Andy that's often in his range to kind of squeeze and check twice. Big question for Tan is, what does Patrik got? He checks it over to Patrik.
You surprised at all by that decision?
I don't think it's a clear-cut bet of ace queen of clubs, because if Patrik had a pair, he probably wouldn't fold given the flop check through. Patrick's betting.
Andy out of there, understandably. And now some optionality for Tan, perhaps, although I don't know whether or not raise, flat call pre, check 2 streets, and then all of a sudden bring the raise on this particular board development is going to read strong.
I will say this, Tan Xuan's more likely to have a bigger hand than Patrik, because Patrik had the opportunity to bet the flop and he did not in position into 2.
You know who would be raising this turn? Hands.
Kind of miss him. Hope we see him later. Regardless, though, Tan's ace queen still has showdown value against straight draws.
Well,
Other
we block
clubs.
Nobody's
the
thinking
queen
about
10.
But there's
Unclear.
10-9, 6-7.
He's thinking about
Yeah,
raising,
sure.
I guess, but I don't see
But if
it playing.
Patrick's betting a hand like 9s right now, or 8-9,
Aggressive line doesn't make a
then
lot of
Tan's
sense.
gonna want to check raise. Kind of lean on that.
Is he really going to check raise?
It's just very hard to put Patrik on whether he would play a jack in this manner. I could see Jack checking the flop. I would think he would want to bet the turn too. Check call is the play. 330.
On the 5 of clubs turn, Andy Nee doesn't have much of an option. There's no reason for him to bet ace queen of spades, so he checks. Tan does have a bit of an option here with ace queen of clubs. He can check, he can bet. I think he doesn't necessarily need to bet with ace high. Generally, ace high is not a hand you want to bet with, but when you turn the nut flush draw as well, you see a little bit more bets come in play here. So he does opt to go ahead and check, and Patrik, who checked the flop, now decides to bet $75,000 on the turn with a mystery hand. We don't know. I mean, he's kind of representing like maybe a weak jack or pocket 9s or pocket 10s. That's what I would be putting him on. Or, of course, he can have draws. He can have a hand like queen 10 suited, 9 10 suited, 6 7 suited, king 10 of clubs, you know, stuff like this. But not much else. I don't think he would bet like 5 4 suited or anything like that. I mean, it's probably like, yeah, it's probably 8 7 suited and like as strong as jack 10 suited, maybe queen jack suited, but that's about it. I mean, he would also have to not 3-bet those hands pre. I'm not sure why Tan tanked so long before going for the call. Check raising gives him essentially no validity. He would bet a set. He would bet ace jack on the flop or king jack on the flop. If not, he would definitely bet it on the turn. Let's take a river.
$7,000. River card incoming.
Board pairing 3. Doesn't change the texture, and the snap check from Tan.
Would make sense given the passive line on the turn that he wouldn't be leading all of a sudden on the 3.
But do you make anything in terms of timing?
I would think that Tan Xuan's kind of got a medium strength hand, something that wants to get the showdown.
Well, when we know that our opponent really wants to get to showdown and doesn't want to invest chips to do so, might that leave us denying that opportunity? Of course, we have no idea what Patrik has. Is it a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of something? Weigh in, chat.
What can Patrik bet here? It's interesting.
Feels like the weakest value betting hand, Patrik, is supposed to be a jack, but I think he could even have a hand like 10s, 9s. It's possible.
Well, we've seen him carve out thin value earlier. But as we've also seen in particular in the mystery card streets, Randy, this
He
could
can
just
show
be
up
air.
with, it could be 10-4 clubs. Yeah, I can see it. Although I really don't think he's getting in there pre-flop with the flat.
No, I think the action pre-flop definitely ranges him away from the more surprising stuff.
On the 3 of diamonds river, action checks to Patrik Antonius, who bets 1/3, 125,000. And look, this looks pretty juicy. I mean, this looks like value. It looks like an ace-8 suited, maybe pocket 9s, pocket 10s, or some kind of jack 9 suited, jack 10 suited, queen jack suited type of hand. The problem with having clubs here is we block the bluffs that we want Patrik to have. So we want him to have king, queen of clubs. We want him to have ace-x of clubs. We have other hands in our range. If we're 10 here, we can call with, we can also have pocket 9s. We can also have pocket 10s. We can also have some weak jack X or some 8X. These hands can all call. So we're kind of at the bottom of our range with ace queen of clubs in particular, because we don't really have much. I don't know. This line is very under bluffed. You do see this line bluffed by very good players occasionally, but just given the context of this board, Patrik has to have essentially 6-7 suited, 9-10 suited, queen 10 suited, king 10 suited, stuff like this. I mean, there's a few combos of clubs, straight draws, stuff like that. That's what Tan has to be deciphering right now. I don't know. I think I would just fold if I'm Tan, but I'm going straight from a theory perspective. Most people don't bluff here. We have better hands to call. That's just the way I would be thinking about this. I'm low in my range. Generally, I fold. That's just how I approach the game. If he wants to go for the soul read and call here, it's understandable. Let's see what he does. He's pretty wild, so I have a feeling he's going to call.
What if it was like ace-4 of hearts or something? I mean, I don't know.
Little angle there.
9-9.
Putting him on 9-9.
9-9. 6, 7, 9.
By the way, guys, if you like this format where I don't spoil the hand myself prior to
9-9.
let me know in the comment section below. Oh, wow.
Folds it. And
Oh,
it
wow.
was 9-7 of clubs. Patrik gets away with it again.
Can't keep getting away with this.
Patrik Antonius.
Wow.
How many more cookies is he going to be able to reach?
You got to have some bluffs, and 9-7 suited definitely falls in that category, and that is why he is one of the greatest to ever do it. Hopefully you guys like this video. Much love.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry.